at the Mr. Maimela, and really thank you for your contributions. What we've not been able to get out of this verbal engagement, we will send to you in writing and you will respond thereof. Would now like to move on to our second witness for the day, Ms. Pendu. Thank you so much for your patience. We should have begun a long time ago. So I'd like to request for colleagues from the legal services to administer the oath.
Okay, thank you so much, Chair. I'll hang out now. Is it fine?
That is fine. Thank you, Mr. Maimela.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you.
Thank you. We can now hand over to legal services to administer the oath. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings, Ms. Pendu. Can we see your video on?
It is on.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Greetings to you. Kindly, for the record, give us your full names as well as your current engagement or wherever you are employed. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Noluthando Gillian Pendu. I am currently employed at Mangosuthu University as Hemis Officer. However, I'm working from home due to COVID-19.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm now going to administer the oath. You have been summoned in accordance with Section 16 of the Powers and Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 2004 to appear before this committee as a witness and to answer questions in respect of the oversight inquiry into the appointment of Professor Mbati as the Vice-Chancellor of the Sefako Makgatho University and related matters. Please be informed there that by law you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that the evidence under oath or affirmation before a house or a committee may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning the charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers and Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a house or committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading, that person commits an offense and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. In that regard, you may choose to either take the oath or take the affirmation. Which one would you prefer, ma'am?
I'll take the oath.
Thank you, ma'am. Please raise your right hand and say the following words after me. I swear that the evidence I shall give.
I swear that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairperson, the witness has been sworn in. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much to Sis Pumelele. We'd now like to also welcome Ms. Noluthando Pendu. Thank you so much for availing yourself to come before the portfolio committee and participate in the inquiry. Kindly take this moment to take us through your written statement that's providing us with your testimony.
Okay. It is written to Mr. M. Mapulane, Chairperson, Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, written from Noluthando, Mrs. Noluthando Gillian Pendu, dated the 24th of April, 2021. The subject matter is dispute on claims made by Professor Mbati about me. Okay, let me give you the background. On the 13th of April 2021, I watched and listened to Prof. Mbati's testimony. I was shocked and dismayed by the utterance he made in his response to a question why he fired me. His response was that I committed crime. I forged a certificate, which is nothing but a lie. I never forged a certificate, anyone's certificate, and I never wanted to come before the commission to talk about how Mbati threatened and treated employees, but his lie about me made that I forged the certificate. That forced me to write this letter. Below are the sequence of my appointment, of the events on how I got appointment at UNIVEN. In 2008, the University of Venda advertised a position of a HEMIS officer. I applied and I was called for an interview. I happened to be the only person at that interview, but was offered the position. However, Mr. Mahori, who was a facilitator of the appointment, called me and asked if I could go to UCT for testing because their acting Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Liet, could not believe that there was a black man who could know HEMIS as they recommended. At this time, I was working at UFH, University of Fort Hare. I refused and rejected their offer on the basis of that statement, and that I asked if there won't be any tests after the interview, but I was told that there was none. I said it would be improper for me to be absent from work again because I had 2 days with them to do that. On the 20th of March, 2009, I received a call from the registrar, the then registrar, Mr. Nemadzivanani. I'm sorry, I'm reading from my phone. Mr. Nemadzivanani, who first apologized for how I was treated by university the previous year. He told me that there was a new Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Mbati, who had asked him to headhunt me because they do not find a suitable person. I should, however, know that I will compete with other people. He said that the advert would be on the 29th of March and that they were asking me to apply. I agreed. I sent my application on the due date with my CV. In the CV, I stated that I did diploma in practical bookkeeping, which I unfortunately could not get my certificate for it. On the day of their selection, they could not find my application. Mr. Nemadzivanani called to confirm if I submitted the application. I was then requested to resend the application to Mr. Manager's email, which I did. I was invited for an interview, which was held on the 13th July 2009, and I was appointed. I feel I have to set the record straight regarding my appointment. My appointment was not based on the qualification, but on skills I possessed. These are the words Professor Mbati and Mr. Manenge said and would always say to me. I had to establish an office, a HEMIS office, and did my work diligently. And due to the volume of work I was doing, I had to suspend my studies and concentrate on my work. The charges. In 2015, I learned from the then registrar that Professor Mbati had asked the internal auditor to investigate me because I had fraudulently entered into the university system. After I was told that I did not have metric. And by then I did not know where my matric certificate was, but I know that I had submitted a copy together with my UNISA academic record. I also had a rumor that the university was losing money because I was submitting incorrect data. The internal auditor interviewed me and could not find any wrongdoing on my side. I had a trail of emails to the people who had to correct data. He appointed PricewaterhouseCoopers from Port Elizabeth to investigate the safety of the system and data, and that there was no way I would be manipulating data. He was also not satisfied with the report too. Mbati appointed SABNT to investigate my office. Even there, he could not find any wrongdoing on my part. He instituted the auditor to write what he wanted. He instructed the auditor to write what he wanted. The last report had some differences compared to the first one. That is the one that led to the charges of fraud and my subsequent expulsion. I took the case to CCMA and I won the case. The reason we could not get money for output, among other things, were the graduating students' information would be captured after submission dates, and the system would not pick them up. That was not done in my office. Data capturers were, but that had to be put on my shoulders. Some postgraduate students would only register for 1 year. And graduate 2 years later without having registered, even having registered. During my suspension, Professor Crawford wrote an email to academic division urging academics to ensure that their students register each year, because we lose money for not registering them. One of the students registered for Masters in Political Studies. There was no record of them in the list of higher degrees committee, but was awarded a degree with a distinction. At some point, my emails were intercepted. This was confirmed by the former registrar, as well as Mr. Nemukula, who told me that he heard that I was not the only one, but I was not the only one. The reason behind my expulsion, I must say that the attack was mainly on Nehau. I was the branch secretary, and the majority of his victims were shop stewards and those who were vocal about things that were happening at UNIVEN. My expulsion was no different from others, because if you ask too much and disagree with him, you open a can of worms for yourself. Comrade Bali and others were opposed to his bid to get the third term. His behavior, point number 4. Prof. Mbati was a bully, manipulative, and ruthless. He would push for something to be done even though he knew it was wrong. Bullet number 1, he forced my colleague to add a colleague to the list of graduates for his PhD on the eve of graduation in 2013, although he had not corrected his thesis. Bullet 2, he had favoritism and acted selectively and differently. He did not act on Mrs. Tsidi's case, while she was found with 3 cases of water by security at the gates. She was charged, but that was put under the carpet, which anyway helped a lady security who was charged for drinking a bottle of water, which she took from a laptop she picked at the parking lot. He never charged Mr. Zaga for manhandling Mr. Manage. He never implemented the recommendations by the Balinduro Commission, which he instituted after South African students complained about being discriminated against. He rather charged Prof. Mafunisa for inciting students, but was later reinstated after he won the case. Conclusion. Mbati ensured that he determined the intended outcome. The prosecutor in my case said that, in open quote, this is a decided case. The employer does not want this person, close quote. Mbati will have to tell me whose certificate I forged, because there is a difference between misrepresentation and forging a certificate. What he said was nothing but a lie. I thank you, Lutando Julian Pendu.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pendu, for your testimony. I just have a few questions, and then while I'm going through my questions, I'd like to welcome members to start raising their hands to engage with Ms. Pendu. You said that in your statement, Ms. Pendu, that Mr. Nemadze Banani told you that Prof. Mbati instructed him to headhunt you. This would mean perhaps that Prof. Mbati believed that you could have been fit for the job.
Yes.
When you initially started, how were your working relations with Prof. Mbati in the initial stages of your time at the institution?
Thank you, Chair. To add to what to the statement, there is an email that he wrote. The email that had rescued me at CCMA, which he said when he wrote, he had seen the reasons behind my non-appointment, but the person, Mr. Mukwedi, who was my superior, must make sure that they advertise. Mr. Manager was copied into that, but they advertise to suit the necessary candidates with necessary skills. So, but when I got there, I must say the relationship was good, but later changed. I don't know why.
Okay, so thank you. So if you were to just try and think if there perhaps was a shortfall in terms of your capacity to do your work, or what could have really perhaps degenerated your Prof. Mbati's liking of you, if you just try and sort of reflect your activism, perhaps through Nahau, if you can just perhaps try and be a bit more clearer about that.
Okay, fine. I think it is activism through Nahau, because during the meetings, we would disagree with what management is saying. And I remember me making a statement in 2015, if not 2014, when we were negotiating for salaries. We requested a breakdown of the expenses for the senior managers, including his. We found out that he spent 966,000 on S&T, and I asked the question: what was he doing? What is it that made him spend such an amount? So some of the things like those, the questions that I would ask, and also the fact that I was not approving the staff association that was there at the time, because Nehau did not, when I got there, Nehau did not have a status. They were not, Nehau was not a majority union. So we were fighting that. And I remember the last time before we were even accepted or recognized, the regional office wrote to Advocate Nemukula to ask him to do this, to proceed with this, because he was acting as if he was with us, although he would delay certain things. So the provincial office asked him to proceed with the the recognition agreement, and also the fact that the recognition agreement, and make sure that the union is represented. Unfortunately, until I left, the union was not represented in the council. So these people who were purported to be union members were staff association members, actually. The last thing that I had was that I was not performing. That was not written. It, like I said, it was a rumor. It was never written, but to me, and it was instituted by Professor Mbati himself. So I asked the question to the auditor, the internal auditor, Mr. Ramawa, who came to my office, who knows what I am doing? How can he say that I am not performing? And if I am not performing, what has he done? He has done nothing. And unfortunately, I knew what I was doing because I started doing HEMIS when it was still subsea in year 2000. So there was no way that I would be incapacitated in terms of what I was doing. It's just that some of the things, some of the things that I was doing had to raise questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pin. You know, in your written statement, I think it's on page 2, paragraph 3. Even also on the same page, under his behavior, bullet point 1, you speak of various forms of maladministration in relation to registering students and in relation to graduations, which raises huge concerns regarding the management of registration and graduation at the institution. If I were to just read it, for those that may not, it's just, but you had gone through it, but I just want to go through it again. The reason we could not get for output, among other things, were that graduating students' information would be captured after submission dates and the system could not pick them up. That was not done in my office. Data capturers were there, I think, but that had to be put on my shoulders. Some postgraduate students would only register for their first year and graduate 2 years later without having registered. That's crazy. During my suspension, Prof. Crawford wrote an email to the academic division urging academics to ensure that their students register each year because the university would lose money for not registering students. One of the students registered for master in political studies. There was no record of them in the list of higher education committees, but was awarded a degree with distinction. I mean, that for me is just really, all of that is really alarming. You even further go to allege that one of the students graduated without a record of him or her in the list of higher degree committees, but was awarded a degree with distinction. And then there's the one where he forced one of your colleagues to add a colleague to the list of graduates for his PhD on the eve of the graduation in 2013, although he had not corrected his thesis. I mean, those are serious allegations, very alarming, very concerning in terms of what may be happening at the institution. Do you believe that there was corruption going on in the awarding of degrees at the university? And would we be in the position would you be in a position to assist if investigations in that regard were to be conducted?
I do believe, although not all of them, there were certain people, and I've noted these glaring ones were in one faculty, which is a school. So I do believe that although not every student was part of this, there was corruption, but there is, or there was.
Which school do you refer to? Under which faculty?
Human and Social Sciences.
That faculty? Okay. And which school?
That is, they say the fact that the school is termed, the faculty is termed as a school at UNIVEN.
Say that again. Oh, the faculty is termed as a school.
As a school, yes.
Okay, all right, I understand. Okay, so it will be the Human and Social Sciences School.
Yes.
All right. So if there were to be an investigation looking into the corruption of these degrees, focusing in the area of which you're speaking to, would you be in a position to assist in that regard?
Yes, if asked.
Thank you. How did you discover such an irregularity?
The nature of my work makes me discover such things. The reason being that when students are graduating, there is a validation that we run. And then when we run the validation, we are able to pick up maybe if there are credits that have not been registered, they have not been accumulated, or else we are able to see whether the last time the student registered.
Okay.
So yes, in this case, there is a student that registered in 2015. This student did not, when I was doing these validations, this student, I went further to check on the higher degrees committee list. That student was not there. He never presented or defended his thesis. He never presented to the faculty board on investigation. And but I was shocked to learn that he had 75% of he was awarded 75%, and he only registered once in 2015. And my query was, if it's a part-time student, the part-time students, we register them for 2 years, but this one was a part-time student, and the nature of his work then would not have allowed him to study 1 year.
Okay.
And the other one, the one for the PhD, the other one for PhD, he submitted to the higher degrees committee, but the problem was that before he even corrected his thesis, he already, I'm told that he had already invited people to say that he's graduating PhD, and because the external examiner did not receive, in fact, the external examiner asked him to do the corrections, he could not proceed. But because he had links with Prof. Mbati, Prof. Mbati called my colleague and asked him to put him on the list. Otherwise, that student could have graduated in September, but he had to graduate in May.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pindo. I'd like to understand something. So with regards to, the irregularities that you would pick up on through the data processing of the system that you worked with, which is HEMIS, those matters are those the ones that were being linked back to you to say that you are incompetent, yet you were then finding that, in fact, the matter goes deeper. By the time it gets to you, it's something that needs to be handled at a data capture level, at a level of the school. So the data that you're being given at your level, I'm assuming, I'm trying to understand, would be data that was problematic. So I think I want to separate the issue. So would you say that spoke to you trying to reason perhaps the irregularity that were being found in your work of area, and then the matter relating to the PhD case is a case speaking directly to Professor Mbati? Or would you say that his lack of leadership could have attributed to the fact that you had people who weren't showing on the higher education, higher higher certificate committees list now graduating.
Okay, can you repeat yourself? The last question? The last point?
So I'm trying to understand where you would place the responsibility on Prof. Mbati, if there is at all.
Okay. On the PhD one, I place him because he's the one who called my colleague. My colleague told me that he called and he said he must put him in the list. So he said that. And I in fact, because he was a person of, he was bully, you wouldn't say no, even though, you know, because he knew that it was wrong, but he had to do it to secure his work. On that one, I attribute directly to him.
And then on the one on the Human and Social Sciences School?
They are both on the Human, Social and Sciences School.
Okay.
They are both there. This one, when I made an inquiry to the director, deputy assistant deputy director, deputy registrar exams, when I made an inquiry with him, he said, no, this is something that an instruction from above. So I wanted the above. Unfortunately, the above could not be, given to me. Only one name was mentioned, and that name is also friends to Peter Mbati.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. When you then discovered that these irregularities were taking place, what did you do with that information?
Well, with that information, I just informed my boss, and I said, unfortunately, there is audit at this time. Audit is going to take care of that. So the
May I check if I'm the only one that has lost Ms. Pendu?
external HEMIS audit took place, and they made note of that, and we said that for their response, I think, pardon? Hello?
Sorry, I think I could be having network challenges on my side. Apologies for that. Do continue, please.
All right. So I'm saying that we, at the time of my discovering of this, it was time for HEMIS audit. So it was part of the HEMIS findings and the HEMIS report, but I don't know what the management did with that.
Okay, thank you so much. Who exactly is responsible for ensuring that proper process is followed before students could graduate?
With the postgraduate students, because the problem mostly is with the postgraduate students, it's the higher degrees committee and the faculty, because they present themselves before they go to the higher degrees committee, as well as the promoter.
Okay.
Yes.
When you left the institution, was there any progress made with regards to these irregularities?
No.
Okay. All right. And then my last question, when on page 3 of your statement, you state that Prof. Mbati informed the inquiry that you have forged a certificate. You further say that there's a difference between misrepresentation and forging a certificate. Can you explain to the inquiry the difference between forging a certificate and misrepresenting a qualification?
Okay. Misrepresenting on my case was that I wrote in my CV as stated the diploma in practical bookkeeping. The diploma in practical bookkeeping I did and I passed. But unfortunately, for some reason, I could not get my certificate. I've been battling for years and I have just given up. But with forging is taking one certificate and overwriting the names and writing yours. So I never did that.
Okay, thank you. Can you just clarify with regards to your matric certificate? Did you eventually find it?
Yes, I eventually found my matric certificate because I had to apply for it, and I applied it together with the one with the Damelin one, but I could not find joy at all at Damelin because I was posted from one pillar to the other. But with my matric certificate, it had got lost surely, and I reapplied for it, and I got it, and I submitted it. But after I've submitted, then they started looking for this one for diploma. I could not find. I kept on, trying, but I just could not find my certificate. I couldn't find joy, and I had given up.
So you went into UNIVEN in 2008, am I correct? Well,
2009.
When did you complete the qualification with Damelin?
It was 1993. It was a 6 months, those mini diplomas, 6 months course.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. And then you indicated that in your application, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then when were you able to then provide the matric certificate to the institution?
Pardon?
When did you provide your matric certificates to the institution?
During my appointment, I provided a copy of my certificate with my academic record from UNISA. But I learned that somehow.
What did you do at UNISA?
Public relations.
Okay, and that was before your course at Damelin or after your course at Damelin?
It was after.
Okay, and you have proof of that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'd just like to, for purposes of records, you do deny that you forged a certificate, but I agree that you were not able to provide proof of the short course you did with Damelin.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think I'm done on my side for now. Can I have an indication of members who'd like to engage? Thank you so much, Ms. Pin.
Thank you.
Honorable Mananiso and then Honorable Liti.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. My first question to Ms. Pendu is with regards to the sexual harassment policy. I just want to find out from you, ma'am, how familiar are you with the policy in the institution?
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar.
But you were a unionist.
I was a unionist, and we were marginalized.
Okay.
Yes.
And my follow-up with regards to what you are saying in terms of being marginalized, if you were to be given an opportunity to speak about Prof. Mbati, what would you say?
Well, there is good and bad about him.
Okay.
The good part is that he is a visionary. That I must say, he is a visionary. But the problem that I have, we have as a union with him, is the fact that he would pretend as if he is with us, and yet he isn't. And secondly, he would manipulate the system to suit his desired outcome. For instance, the reason why I'm saying it is that we indicated as a union that there is no union at UNIVEN. There was these staff associations which were differentiated according to class sector. That is, there were gardeners, which were gardeners and cleaners were classed as service staff. There were admin staff. There was academics. We said there is no union like that. The union encompasses everyone. It does not discriminate, or it's not segregated. A worker is a worker, that's all. So that system worked for him because he wouldn't invite Nehao as Nehao. He would invite these sectors, these clusters, as the admin, service staff, but those members, though, they were also members of NEHAW. But when it comes to real recognition of NEHAW as NEHAW, then we were, so that is why I'm saying he would manipulate the system.
Okay, ma'am. I would want to ask some of the questions being raised by Honorable Makgatho, but from a different angle. One is with regards to your statement on UNIVEN advertisement. Can you share with the committee the requirements for the position as per the advertisement, if you still recall them?
I do not recall, but I think they said 3-year diploma or M+3.
Okay.
Yes, it was M+3.
All right. So did you meet the requirements for the position as advertised by then?
As advertised, not, because I was still studying, but per invitation of which he wrote an email to Mr. Manager and Mr. Mukwedi to say, we need this person.
Okay. Noting
Yes.
that you were not meeting the requirements, do you agree or disagree with the assertion that you were not appointable? If not, why?
I wouldn't say I was not appointable, because the skills that I possessed, which was the requirement as per Mbati's letter, then, you know, because I did this work from 2000, year 2000, it was 2008 by then, 2009. So I did my work diligently, and I may not have, according to the qualifications, but when it talks to skills, I possessed the skill.
Okay. And then my question, ma'am, is with regards to your appointment again. What role did Prof. Mbati play in your appointment?
He played a very big role, because he is the one who initiated, who requested that I must be headhunted. He is the one, as I stated today, he is the one who and he wrote an email. There's an email to that effect with specifically my name. So he played a very big role. And
Okay.
when I even when I entered, I came to university, I was introduced to him. We sat down, and he said, in fact, he confirmed that they needed a person with the skill.
All right. And then my last question, ma'am, as I have noted that you are a unionist, how familiar are you with the process of whistleblowing in the institution?
There was a whistleblowing hotline, which was said to be hotline, but that hotline never went any further. We wouldn't, you know, even think of whistleblowing, because we had that thought that at the end of the day, you will be known who you are. You had called.
Okay, so what you are saying here is that in UNIVEN, there was no confidentiality.
Yes.
So as a person who was dealing with the serious system, have you tried to actually raise that issue in some formal meetings that you were having as UNIVEN or unionists?
Yes, there was a meeting, I think, when we were talking about the freedom of expression.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that we highlighted in that meeting at the council chambers were that there is no confidentiality. And also, we also highlighted, I remember the then registrar said, no, we cannot allow everyone to just express themselves anyhow, lest we become insulted. So in that meeting, we were robust in certain issues that we were, as a union, not comfortable with.
Okay, my last question, ma'am, is with regards to your the non-renewal of your contract in terms of being challenged, and I want to know what were the grounds not to renew your contract?
No, it was not a contract. It was a permanent position.
Okay.
I was charged for fraud, as Mbati said, which
Okay.
was nullified at CCMA. And there was a clause or declaration that we put this, and we don't talk about it anymore because both parties, both us, me and the university, were not on the right track.
Okay. Thank you, Meman Pendu. Then my last point is I just want you to give yourselves an opportunity to advise those who are in a position of authority as unionists and as well in leadership in institutions to say, with what has transpired in UNIVEN, what is it that you would want to advise for those who are in leadership to do in terms of ensuring that they don't bring organization or institution into disrepute?
To start with, there is nothing that is wrong with communicating and communicating faithfully. Management does not communicate faithfully with workers. It did not. And the fact that the processes, because I want to make an example of this, the processes of expulsion or charging people at UNIVEN, according to the disciplinary hearing or what the disciplinary code, it is the immediate superior that has to complain, and it is the immediate superior that has to take you to task. But unfortunately, the immediate superiors, especially in the academic administration, were not, and even at public relations communications, were not the immediate superiors. The immediate superiors were in the dark. Only Prof Mbati and his cronies would know that there is this person who has done this. The reason why I'm saying this, the registrar, when he called me, I was in Potchefstroom at a workshop. When he called me, I said, I received this from the legal department. Would you, when you have arrived, come to me so that we sit and I'm not aware of what has been, but I have signed it, although I was reluctant. So something which I did, when I got them, I talked to him, and then he told me that he was reluctant to sign this, and he did not know that there was this thing that was about to bloom at that point, because he thought that it was settled.
Okay. No, thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mananiso. I'd now like to hand over to Honorable Litsie. Just two questions before I hand over to Honorable Litsie. Can I just confirm that Nehao was not in support of another term of Professor Mbati serving another term at the institution as the Vice-Chancellor?
Yes.
Can you just share with the committee, just in summary, some of the reasons that concerned Nehao?
The abuse of power was one of them. The misuse of funds, the use of legal department as a punitive measure, and also the fact that there has never been in our country a third term. So it would start with him. So we said no.
Okay.
And also his maladministration.
Okay, thank you. If you were to give an example of his of maladministration that took place under his leadership, what example would that be?
I would make an example of a the what's this UIGC. There were funds which were meant to develop the university, but the funds were transferred to UIGC. And secondly, during that time, we used to engage with the director of UIGC, Dr. John Mudau, and he told us that there is a farm that is under UIGC. There is a travel agent that is under UIGC. I can't get it, but there's also a mining company that is under UIGC. So we said, what is it serving? What is it serving? He said, no, it's for the university, it's for generating funds, and the university VC is part of this and all those things. So we said, this shouldn't have happened because we are not a company. We are not a company. We are not a profit-making company. We are an institution of higher learning. So the funds that are there for the university, at the university, were supposed to be the funds that are used for the benefit of the university and the students as well.
Okay, thank you. And then last question. What was the sentiments of Nahau in that era? Taking into consideration everything that was happening between Prof. Pendler and Professor Mbati as activists, and with issues coming up about sexual harassment, considering the fact that generally in society, spaces continue to be extremely microaggressive towards the existence of women in those spaces. Women continue to be discriminated upon in their place of work. What were generally the sentiments of Nahau during that time?
I would say, knowing Nahau, but I will come to UNIVEN. Knowing Nahau is opposed to any form of GBV, including sexual harassment at workplace and everywhere. So as Nahau, we were not. However, at that time of this whole thing, Nahau was still under marginalization. We were not recognized as a union, so we were not fully mobilized at the time. So I wouldn't say Nahau had uttered this statement or what, but knowing Nahau is against every form of gender-based violence.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Litzia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good day, Mendo Lutando.
Good day, Mr. Litzia.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and how are you?
Well, I'm very well. Thank you very much for coming to the inquiry. We don't take it for granted because these are the time issue and you also have a data issue. It's a cost issue general. So we really appreciate you sacrificing for being here. What is UIGC?
It's UNIVEN income, whatever, generation company, something like that.
So UIGC, do you did you have directors, or it was just how was it operating? You don't know.
I don't know exactly how it was operating, but it is an entity that is operating within the university. It has its own director. I don't know whether he's still the director, Dr. John Mudau. So who would run all these projects that are income generating. And I believe that I remember the other time when we were fighting for the insourcing of the securities and the cleaners and the gardening people. They were put under UIGC because they said the university said it doesn't have money. UIGC is going to be the sole employer for those people, but the money would come from university, and there will be money from UIGC to the university. So it was just something like that. That is very fair.
Okay, no, thank you very much. It's an interesting prospect or interesting information you are giving to us. Well, as the committee, I think we're in agreement that we're not against universities generating third stream income, because especially the historically disadvantaged institution has got a serious challenge in terms of keeping the best professors, the best lecturers there, because the historically advantaged ones, with all the donors they have, with all the income generated, they're able to attract the best of the best. And as a committee, we do want the balance, give as much support to historically advantaged, but also give to the historically advantaged. But it's a very interesting discussion or information you are giving to us. I think it's something we, Chair, that we might need to look into the UIGC with Ntate Modau. I think maybe he can assist us with the relevant information there. But back to the inquiry. Where did you say you are working now?
At Mangosuthu University.
Or at MUT?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what are you doing there?
I'm doing Hemis office. Hemis
Hemis office.
Mm.
Okay. So when you're answering Honorable Manani, so you said your contract did not expire, you're in a permanent position. So in essence, you are fired from that institution. And then you went to CCMA and you won the case.
Yes.
And then what happened?
From there, actually, during the investigations, in fact, during that time, I was just fed up, with all that. I resigned. But during my resignation, serving during the time I was serving my notice, then I was charged.
You was charged for what?
For fraud. That's what it was said.
Oh, okay. So you were hurtful, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
You resigned.
Yes.
During the process of serving notice, you were charged for fraud.
Yes.
And this fraud is that one of
certificate.
Certificate.
Mm.
And then what happened after that?
Then I went to CCMA. I won the case. I stayed at home.
Oh, sorry. So after being charged, they found you guilty.
Yes.
While still serving notice.
Yes.
Okay. How long was your notice period?
It was a month.
So within a month, you were charged. A chairperson of the disciplinary committee was appointed. They went through the details. And in a month, you went to DC.
Yes.
Witnesses were called. Within a month, you presented evidence, and then you were found guilty.
Yes.
And then who was representing you at the time?
It was Nehau, the late comrade, forgot his name now. I forgot his name.
No, it's
Mangwadu,
okay.
Comrade Mangwadu. Yes.
So did you find it strange that within a month, while serving notice, in a space of a month, all this process was concluded? Did you find it strange?
I found it strange, but seeing that I know how punitive or how ruthless UNIVEN was, I knew it's a given case. It's a given case because when Mbati has pinpointed at you, whatever you will do, you will not win. Even now, there are people who were in who are still going through CCMA since 2015. And the university keeps on changing lawyers, lawyer after lawyer, even though the things are glaring that they are not supposed to be fired.
Even now? In
Yes.
2021?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
There are two people I know. The other one has won the case, but and there was a settlement that the university must pay her, but unfortunately, the university is challenging that.
Okay. No problem. I think thanks for the information. I'm sure as the committee, we should agree that we must follow such, because we are against any form of brutality against students at universities, against employees at institutions, and most of the time, and I'm not necessarily talking about this case because I've not really went through the merits and the demerits of it. This is the first time I hear about it, but most of the time, when such things happen, these people use university resources that are meant to improve lives of the students there, to improve the image of the institution. That is money that they are wasting or using rather on legal fees that they should be using, to change the image of the institution, to build better residences for students, pay better salaries to their professors, lecturers, and so forth, so that they keep the core of their talented lecturers there. But it's something that we will follow it. So I think you did try to answer Honorable Makgatho on this one, but I was not really satisfied with some of the answers, and I'm going to repeat some of them. And I apologize for that.
Okay.
So, how closely did you and Professor Mbati work, and how was the working relationship between the two of you?
Initially, when I got to UNIVEN, I worked very closely with him. Not closely with him, I worked very well because I was reporting to someone who reported to him at the time when the registrar was the former registrar, which is Prof. Dr. Mr. Nemadzivanani, was away, was suspended or fired. So I never had a problem with him, but I do not know what had happened later. But what I know is that there were some meetings. I didn't want to touch on this, but there were some meetings from my colleagues who queried the fact that I was appointed. And I had thought that if he, that's my thinking, if there were such a query, him being the one who had headhunted me, who had issued an email to say I must be headhunted, he would have protected me, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. However, with me and him at the initial stages, we were working very well. And he would even ask me, I remember the time when 2011, when the university wanted to appoint a MIS officer. He approached me to say, I want you, Mrs. Pendu, because you are the one who has expertise in this. You are the one who will guide us as to who the right person would be. We are pedestrian to this, we do not know. So I was part of that meeting and part of the panel, and we appointed someone. After that someone was appointed, it's then that I saw that there is a rift between me and him. And he, that person, also came to my office to say, Pendu, what have you done? I said, no, why? What? He said, the VC is working against you and he wants to use me, and I am not going to allow that. As a result, that person left.
Oh, okay. So after winning the case at CCMA, the CCMA says what? Says you are reinstated.
Because I had resigned already. Otherwise, CCMA was saying I must be reinstated. But I had resigned. I was just fed up of UNIVEN. I said I'd rather go and eat stamp and beans at home than to be frustrated here.
And then between that period and your next employment, how long was it?
It was a year.
It was a year.
Yes.
Okay, so there was no, for lack of a better word again, isandla semfene, trying to block you from entering the system again.
No, because of what the declaration from CCMA, they said they are wrong, and also they won't win anyway. If wherever they can go, they won't win because they used me, they used my skills, irrespective of what they are saying. So let this thing be put to rest. And I had indeed did that too. It's only when Prof. Mbati said I forged that I said, no, this is my name. Forging and misrepresentation are two different things. So when someone would, and he even said she committed crime. So when someone sees me there and I mention myself, or maybe knows who is Nolutando, he would say, but it's a different person, So I had to protect my name on that. That is why I'm here, not anything else.
Yeah, no. And then who had signed that charge sheet?
It was signed by the registrar, I think, or Miss Advocate Nemukula, the legal department, I think. I don't have it with me.
Okay, and then who was making the allegations? Because for my understanding, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that for the legal division to charge you, somebody must have sent the allegations to them, isn't it?
Yes.
So who had wrote to them, who had made the allegations?
It was Prof. Mbati, because they did not come from my immediate superior, neither did they come from his boss. It was Prof. Mbati. So that's how he does anyway. So
Professor Mbati wrote that himself?
Yes, initiated that.
Okay. No, thank you very much. And then we're informed by Mr. Makgatho, or we're informed that, Mr. Makgatho and others, that Mr. Makgatho and yourself, you're targeted by Professor Mbati because you had challenged his attempt for the third term as the VC.
That's true.
Can you explain how that unfolded?
We were at a meeting. To start with, I must say I was not part of the council. I was not part of the council. But like I said, there were members in the class structure who were members of NEHAU, who were part of the council members, who were council members like Mr. Makgatho. We discussed this in NEHAU meeting several times that we cannot, there were people within NEHAU who were gunning for him for his third term. And we said no, we refused. And that information from NEHAU went to Mbati, but also because Comrade Bali and was a consistent and a faithful member. We told him as a union that you oppose to the third term. There is no way that this man can have a third term. One, like I said, the maladministration, let me elaborate on that. There were projects within the university, the building projects, which were not finished. And we did not know what was going on, especially for the residencies. There was also some money that was put by Lotto for swimming pool. And I can't remember how much it was, but that swimming pool could not even accommodate the community, let alone the fact that there will be students, the community of Thohoyandou, because initially it was for students as well as the community, but it was just a small something like a bath. So it did not meet the specifications. One of the people who was responsible for sports is one of those the people that I'm talking about who were charged since 2015. The second thing is the attitude that he had displayed towards the union and the favoritism that was going on there. He led the university with much favoritism. So those are some of the things that made us not want him back. And the fact that he would be the first VC to have a third term consecutively. There is no such in South Africa.
Okay, and last set of questions, because I think time we're running out of time. In your statement, you have alleged that one student graduated without a record of him or herself in the list of higher degrees committee.
Yes.
But there was nonetheless awarded a degree. So do you believe generally there was a degree corruption of some sort going on at the university? And can you be in a position to assist? Should investigation in that regard be conducted?
I will.
And then the first one was, do you believe there was corruption, the degree awarding of some sort at that during that time?
Yeah, I do believe, because there is no way that you can register for a 2-year program and you register once, and then the second time you come, you just the marks come and you pass. So there was some kind of, if either it's administration that was incorrect or a corruption on the awarding of the degrees. Because when I made an inquiry, someone said to me, "Yo, you see, if you'll fight with these lecturers if you query such things."
And then after discovering this, what actions did you personally take to ensure that it is corrected?
I informed my boss and also the auditors, because at that time there were auditors. The auditors were the ones who had to take up with, and then there was a report. However, I don't have a report with me and I wouldn't, but there was a report and there were some questions sent to management to respond to such allegations.
Okay.
Or anomalies.
Okay, no, thank you very much for assisting in this regard. Chairperson, back to you. I want to thank you and wish you all the best at MU team Pendu.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Itsiye. Thank you very much, Mam Pendu Siyabulela kakhulu, for coming before the portfolio committee and engaging in the inquiry as we attempt to make the institution, University of Venda, and the sector at large a greater space. I think you are excused at this point. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This now calls the end of day 10 of our inquiry on the appointment of Professor Mbati as the Vice-Chancellor at SMU and related matters. Tomorrow we'll be moving on to part B, where we will have, we will receive testimony and a presentation by Mr. Terry Tsilane, who's the Executive Chairman of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, the company appointed by SMU to assist with the online voting system. So that will be tomorrow. He's the only witness we have for tomorrow. Honorable Etia, can I just check that the hand I'm seeing is a legacy hand? Okay, I think it is. The hand that was up, it was a legacy hand, correct?
No, it was the old hand.
Okay. All right, thank you, Honorable Etia. Sorry. So yeah, so that's tomorrow, members and colleagues. We'll be going into part B with Mr. Terry Tsilane, who will take us through the online voting system. Just to remind members that on Thursday, we will elect the new Speaker of Parliament, and then on Friday, we've had to postpone the committee's virtual colloquium on institutional autonomy until the 10th of September, as there has been a request that members attend the launch of the Women's Charter for Accelerated Development, setting a 25-year vision and agenda for women's equality, growth, and development. This will be a virtual plenary session of both houses. If there's nothing else, I think we can call this meeting to an end and say that the meeting stands adjourned.
Malibongwe.
Are you asking us or are you telling us if there's nothing else? What do you mean if there's nothing else?
If there's something, Honorable,
Yeah.
if you feel like it's important, even though we've closed the meeting, you can raise it quickly.
Yes, Chair, thanks very much. It's just a reminder, Chair, that we've agreed that members should send in their views on the part A of the inquiry so that we can have a report, at least on the part A. We did agree in that fashion around May 2021, Chairperson. So just a reminder, we're still busy, some of us, with our own reports. We'll send it through once we are done. So, but just reminding other members also to do the same. Thanks.
That reminder is in order, Honorable. I actually left that out. Thank you so much. Yes, there is a huge request from the research unit or the support staff of the committee that you kindly do send through your observations, any recommendations that you'd like to see emerge out of the inquiry to our colleagues who support the committee. So yeah, so I think thank you very much, Honorable Litzia, for that. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, colleagues.
I'm always in order. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades.
Thank you. Bye. I was called advocate today. That was called.
And Honorable Mananiso was called deputy minister.
Recording stopped.
Yo.
So comrades, you're going somewhere.
Yo. Sharp.
Sharp.